The lie is not for you and me. The lie is for those implicated to say, no matter what, we will protect you.
Yes.
I'll speak for myself. I never thought that I would be offering an apology to Jeffrey Epstein. I think of all the times I've maligned that guy, all the times I'm accused him of crimes, of blackmailing people, of trafficking children to powerful figures around the world on behalf of global intel services. And then I learned yesterday from Attorney General Pam Bondi, that's totally untrue.
Yes. Yeah.
The guy killed himself after 36 days in prison for no reason. He was a billionaire. Mm-hmm. He had no clients. He'd done nothing wrong other than get like naughty massages 20 years before. And the guy killed himself. Another pointless death.
They understand how human psychology works.
Beautifully.
Beautifully. They understand fear. They understand ego. Just remember that some things are worth putting your neck out for, and our freedom is one of them. And to me, this whole gaslighting is a slap across our faces as free people, and we deserve freedom.
Right, welcome back to the Live, Love, Learn podcast, or for those of you on YouTube, just my channel. And I'm back as usual. Every other week we do 1 week on my show and 1 week with Brice from Esoteric Atlanta. How you doing, Brice?
It's been a weird few days, my friend. We've been texting back and forth, but I know we're going to talk about it. But yesterday I was very angry. Not as angry today, but yeah, how are you guys doing?
Well, we're going to have a great chat, and we're going to be talking about Epstein, Trump, and the client list that doesn't exist. And for the new listeners here, I just want to explain that when Brice and I record our weekly shows, they're coffee chats. So we're not interviewing each other. We are just picking a topic that's of interest to lots of us and really talking through, like friends over coffee, what our thoughts are, not pretending to have all the answers. Because I think, like you said there, Brice, yesterday you were quite angry. Today, you're moving into different thought processes and emotions. And quite often, if we can have open and honest conversations about these things, it's going to be so healthy for all of us and try and get perspectives that we might not thought of. So we love comments in the chat. We love hearing what your thoughts are. But with subjects like this, I know it's all over the news, but please be mindful that we're on YouTube and don't put any trigger words in there because we don't want to get our channels taken down again. So let's get into it. We've got a few clips to play, but before I get into playing the clips, we're talking about Trump, Epstein list, the client list, the gaslighting. Why is it important for you to talk about this? Because you and I don't like playing into the drama, but this has got so much depth to it, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think, and I was telling you off camera, I think the big thing for me is the gaslighting. I can understand. I totally get it. I think that there are probably names on that non-existent list, that urban legend of a list, that's going to shock all of us. I think that I get if they need to put off releasing it because of national security, all sorts of things. Like, I totally get it. But to come out and gaslight the public,
yeah,
is what has really, really upset me. I mean, the good news is, the silver lining is, at least here in the United States, people are not standing for it. And there's been a few calls to WAR. I want to spell that just in case because of the context of what we're talking about, and I think it's just kind of, I do have to give credit to people all over the world. I think we've been very patient. Yeah. And we tried very nicely to do this. And I don't know why all of a sudden they're gaslighting us about this list that's been spoken about for years now. And now they're just like, oh, what are you talking about? So Ghislaine is sitting in prison for no reason?
Well, that's a good point to play our first clip. So I'm playing these clips, I have to say it because of the platform we're on, under fair use, just so that we can have commentary on it. So let me share my first clip. Now, this is so annoying when this keeps happening, keeps going. Right, excuse me one moment. Can you see that, Brice?
I can.
Let's just play a little minute of this clip.
I think he gave a very good explanation when he said this. Take a listen.
said on camera, we have a client list.
On the White House lawn.
I've seen the client list.
Yes.
And then yesterday, she's saying there's no client list.
There's no client list. And there was no systematic blackmail. That actually might be the most preposterous line in the document.
The whole thing that this tape shows he didn't kill himself is like a joke. But worse than that, it's a joke that we all get. Like, they're not fooling anybody. So I feel like we're at a dangerous point now.
Yeah, I agree, because the lie is more it's not, the lie at this point is not even part of trying to convince any of this is true.
Yes.
The lie is a signal to everybody else involved in the scheme that to the ultimate ends, the United States government will go to protect all of you.
Yes.
And that's the question. For
Man,
what
is that smart?
purpose?
Can you say that again? Okay,
Yes.
So it's a signal.
The lie is not for you and me. The lie is for those implicated to say, no matter what, we will protect you. And then we have to start asking the question, why? As in, what is the purpose?
So I'll put all the links to these videos that we're sharing below. So this is Candace Owens discussing an interview that Tucker Carlson did on his channel. What are your thoughts on that, Brice?
I mean, I think that Tucker Carlson is spot on, and his guests were spot on. As an American, that pisses me off even more, because what I think everybody across the world knows, what's the Constitution? We the people, we the people, we the people, we the people. I feel like the Declaration of Independence needs to be remailed to our government officials, that your duty, and this should be the duty of all nations, is not to protect outside forces or yourselves. Your duty is to protect the people, and the people are in charge. And that, I mean, I can feel my face getting red. And I want to remind the United States citizens, I'll be careful how I say this, that in the Declaration of Independence, as well as the Constitution, one of the rights that American citizens have that not many other citizens of other countries has, is that we have a duty and a right, we'll say, to dismantle a governing system if it's tyrannical. And so if I were in any type of politics, and that's in both, Catherine, that is in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. That's how serious our founding fathers took this. Like, if the government gets too powerful, the people have to take charge by any means. It says by any means necessary. So if I were sitting in DC right now, and I was seeing what all these quote unquote patriots around America were saying on social media, I would be a little bit nervous. Because that is our right to do that. So I'm just, it's beyond me that it's gotten this bad. But then it begs the question, and I have to be careful how I say this for the YouTube and not for your podcast listeners, how much involvement does the I country?
Exactly, particularly since the visit that happened straight afterwards. Now, I wanted to unpack this a bit, because obviously here we're not pretending we've got any of the answers and we're just guessing, but there's so many scenarios in here, and I want to sort of wheel it back a bit to the fact that part of Trump's presidency was saying that things like this would be brought out into the open. And for me, I'm not an American, but as a mother, the fact that so many victims, boys and girls, are involved in this, the fact that, to me, whatever games are going on, and I say that not in a nice way, but whatever shenanigans are going on, whatever their reasons are for behaving like this, if we, someone here in England and you in America, are so outraged by the gaslighting, can you imagine what the victims must say?
Oh, I can't. My heart breaks for them.
Absolutely. And also, what message is this giving out to anyone that is involved in conducting the CT, we cannot say these words on YouTube. So if people are listening on a podcast, you'll wonder why we're not saying the full words. But in terms of trafficking that involves small people, it's almost giving a go-ahead to just carry on and nothing's going to happen to you. But before we go in any more, I just want to play the next clip, because I think we can pull them all together. So tell me if you can see this one. All right, Brice, can you see that?
Yes.
I'll speak for myself. I never thought that I would be offering an apology to Jeffrey Epstein. I think of all the times I've maligned that guy, all the times I'm accused him of crimes, of blackmailing people, of trafficking children to powerful figures around the world on behalf of global intel services. And then I learned yesterday from Attorney General Pam Bondi, that's totally untrue.
Yes. Yeah.
The guy killed himself after 36 days in prison for no reason. He was a billionaire. He had no clients. He'd done nothing wrong other than get like naughty massages 20 years before. And the guy killed himself. Another pointless death. And then his best friend, former girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, doing 20 years in prison for no crime. There are no victims.
Yes, it's a victimless crime. They're obviously persecuted by the state. They're political prisoners. Really. It's The Hague should come in and do an investigation, or we're watching one of the most systematic government cover-ups of all time.
So I loved that clip so much, Brice. And obviously, again, I'll put the link to that interview on Tucker Carlson's channel below. And they summed it up so greatly. So, you know, Ghislaine Maxwell is in jail for her involvement in this trafficking organization, and there's no crime, there is no list, there are no clients, there is nothing wrong. So obviously they're going to let her out now, I assume.
I mean, somebody posted a funny meme. Of course, the woman has to take the fall for everything.
Exactly.
You know, like and somebody pointed out JP Morgan a few years back paid out billions of dollars to victims. So who were these victims that but as they said in the first clip, like, they know they're not fooling us.
Yeah.
It's a signal to these horrific people around the world that we got your back, which is literally, that's what makes me the most mad as an American. Like, we literally fought a war that this would never happen. Like this is crazy. Like, this is absolutely crazy. And I think the thing that makes me the most pissed off as American too, and I think this is where a lot of Americans are coming from, is America carries the responsibility for a lot of these legal actions because the crimes happened through American soil with a lot of American citizens conducting it. So that is why I think the Americans are the most upset, because we have the legal burden of filing these charges. And in the courts in America, anytime you go to court, it's the people, criminal court, it's the people against so-and-so. The people are the ones filing the complaint. And so the fact that now this has been dismissed by the American government is not okay, because this is the main, and sure, he can be charged in other countries too, of course, because there's been some stuff going on over the world, but this is the hub of where this is happening. And so this is where the hammer is going to fall down the hardest. From what I understand, I believe America also carries the heaviest penalties. We're one of the only countries that still has the ultimate penalty, which again, we have to be careful about what we say on YouTube, but the unaliving, the deleting, where someone's deleted, that penalty. America, I might be mistaken, but we might be the only Western country that actually still has the unaliving penalty.
Officially.
Officially.
We all know that the intelligence agencies and goodness know who else, allegedly, wink, wink, carry out deleting a lot. And there's so many scenarios here. And as I said, I'm not going to pretend that I know about it, but about what's going on. But there could be the fact that they're deliberately using this as an example because they know it will cause mass outrage and start questioning things. What are your thoughts on that?
I have considered that. I have considered, I mean, I think the person I'm most disappointed in is Trump.
Yeah.
But then, of course, like, I try to be fair because we talk about this all. We don't know how he was threatened. We don't know what he was forced to do. And
if he was threatened or forced.
Or if he actually know from the Cassiopeians, and I have to be careful about how I say this, that the I country, they've claimed, have particular, we'll say, booby traps in America that go, the BOMBs, we'll say. And that's according to the Cassiopeians. So take that with a grain of salt. So considering that might be a possibility, this could still be for safety purposes. I don't know. In a lot of ways, we're going to have to see how it plays itself out. Maybe they're trying to dismantle this stuff before, so no switches can be flipped. It's just, it is so infuriating to me that these are some, as our listeners know, the crimes that these people have committed on this list are some of the worst crimes in the history. I don't think we've seen crimes this bad since like the witch trials or the the Inquisitions, just the brutality. And this is happening to young people Right. And and they're not going to stop because this is I'm rereading The Ultimate Evil right now, which we've spoken
Yeah.
about the Son of Sam. I went back and reread it. It's a thick book, and they go into detail about, not deep detail, but like talking about the mindset of people who get involved into these satanic type practices, that they're willing to do things that it's hard for us. Berkowitz kind of states, I'm paraphrasing, when he's writing letters, that it's hard for us to comprehend how far these people are willing to go for what they believe in. And I think that's the hard thing too, Catherine, is that even for the people who are just, this isn't just about a business for children, we'll say.
Yeah.
There are religious principles in what they do. And
And
when you,
yeah, completely. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, there's so much deeper than this because you can manipulate a country going to WAR. I know it's frustrating with spelling the words out, guys, but otherwise this gets taken down on YouTube. For those of you on podcast platform, thank you for bearing with us. But the fact of the matter is if you've got blackmail at this high level involving our royal family,
Mhm.
every politician probably in the Western world, bankers, businessmen. I'm not pretending there's not women in there as well, because we know there are. It's so, it literally goes into every single layer of society. And I think one of the things that I think shows how far we've come is, you and I have spoken to Cathy O'Brien on numerous occasions. There's other whistleblowers. These things have been going on, but so behind the scenes, most of us didn't know about them. But over the last few years, so many more people now are coming to the realization that things like this are actually true, not just a horror movie. And therefore, there has to be more in it. I'm not a believer. I will put my things out there, and I would love nothing more to be wrong. But I'm not a believer that Trump and his administration are on the side of good and are necessarily being forced into this. I hope I'm wrong. I would love nothing more to be wrong than that, about that. But whatever the level of planning, what makes me so suspicious, Brice, is when you look at the New World Order, Agenda 2030, the stones, what were the stones that came down?
Guidestones.
Yeah.
Interesting though, Tamara pointed out the Guidestones came down the same date, 2022, that
Right.
this came out.
Okay, so the Georgia Guidestones, all these things. One thing we know is that the ones on the side of evil that are trying to control the world, and doing a very good job, quite frankly, about it, because they got so far before virtually anyone noticed. Poor old David Icke and people like him were shouting from the rooftops long before most of the rest of us sort of clicked into place. And it's still a journey. I mean, no one knows all of it. But the thing that makes me so suspicious, Brice, is that one thing we know from this group, whatever you want to call them, and people call them the elites, I call them the parasites, is they play beautifully the long game. They're patient, everything is planned so far in advance. And therefore, the fact that part of Trump's team's campaign was about things like releasing the Epstein list, releasing the Kennedy assassination, Martin Luther King assassination, all these things, he needn't have mentioned all that. So the fact that he does, and then he comes with this bombshell, to me, in my gut, it feels like this is all part of a long plan, not just some rapid cover up.
And it came out the same week that Diddy really kind of got off.
Yeah.
And let's be real, they're the same list.
Absolutely.
They're the same list. And this all comes in, and I think that's why I was so upset yesterday, because I was actually thinking about you and me, Catherine, and how we've been trying to warn people that there is more controlled opposition out there than they even realize. And I remember yesterday just thinking, this is the hardest I told you so.
Yeah.
I don't, this is not, it's gut wrenching. And I'm still, I'm still like, okay, just let it play out, let it play out. I still, but and I think too, Catherine, I think this group, and I've started to call them the system.
Yeah.
The system. And you're right. They've been doing this for a lot longer than we have. They understand how human psychology works
Beautifully.
beautifully. They understand fear. They understand ego.
Yeah.
Right. And so, in a lot of ways, when we come to this idea of a great awakening, when the world starts to crumble around us, and we realize there's this matrix and this system and this establishment, and all these things are going on. Yes, we spend some time going, what the hell? What the hell? Nothing I thought was real is real. But then at some point, we have to use that to inspire us to change, to make the decision, the choice to change ourselves. And I think, though, what this system has done is they've hooked people by making people feel like, well, I'm a truther, so therefore I'm right.
Absolutely. And it's still going on. And I
Yeah.
want to ask you, Brice, okay, so this, I'm just putting various scenarios out there. So say this is all part of the plan. Say it is all part of 4D chess, 5D chess, whatever. I don't want someone that we're meant to trust playing deceitful games. At some stage, you have to say to that's in this case the American public, because you're the ones, this is your government playing this at the moment. We've got enough awful shenanigans and lies going on in our country, trust me. But look, in this, what we're talking about today, so just say there's a deeper plan. And people are always making excuses. Like there were so many excuses around Operation Warp Speed, and yet it's still being rolled out in the country. Now, people can come up with very good scenarios about why these things are being done, but it's still based on deceit and not treating the American population as adults that can handle the truth and can get behind people that are really trying to do the right thing. You know, say there is a BOMB that, or in the plural, that have been planted. At what stage are you going to not let the people know? At what stage are you not going to be honest and say this is what we're dealing with? And at some stage we have to come out with the truth. Look at the weather manipulation. Look at what happened in that terrible, terrible Texas.
Yeah,
you know, how
still
quick
going on.
we
Yeah.
forget. Look at what's been happening in Australia over the last 5-6 years. Look at what's been happening in Hawaii, all through America, and I don't even know half. I mean, a lot of Europe, awful atrocities in Italy, and we move on so quickly as the public. So in one respect, we could say today, by me choosing the topic, I'm falling into the game plan of giving energy. But we're discussing it, in my mind anyway, and feel free to tell us in the comments nicely. In my mind anyway, we're discussing it to try and link in the bigger picture, because we all know that these things are all linked. Everything is linked. None of this is happening in isolation. You've got Pam Bondi, you've got Kash Patel, you've got Dan Bongino, you've got, look at Robert Kennedy, RF Kennedy Jr. coming out a week or two ago saying his dream is that everyone in America is going to be wearing a wearable, which is all part of the control grid. Now, when he looked at that, I looked at his body language there, and he looked like he had a gun to his head. But that could be wishful thinking on my behalf,
Right. And I will admit that too. And I feel like I know I have blind spots. I have soft spots for people that I don't even know. So it's ridiculous. And I will, before we have people saying, oh, well, it's part of the movie and these politicians have already been arrested. For the Americans, I don't know how it is in other countries, but that's against the Constitution, my friends. Yeah. You cannot, in the American Constitution, we cannot, Hollywood actors, different story. But an American politician is elected by the people. So therefore, if they are arrested, guess who the first people are that's told? Us. So if they've run all these trials behind our backs, then the good guys have also broken the Constitution, which means they ain't the good guys.
Exactly. When they're behaving exactly the same as, we've got so many examples of all of our politicians. It doesn't matter what side they're on, Republican, Democrat, Labour, Conservative, we've all got the same, this side or that side in our politics. And then at the same time, you've got allegedly, and I will bring this in, President Trump calling up Candace Owens to say, be nice to Macron and stop saying that she's a man. Now, the reason I'm bringing this in is actually the main journalist, I forget their name, in France, who was being prosecuted for saying this, has got the all clear. So now the shit's really hitting the fan with Macrons, and they're over in the UK at the moment. My mother, who I've been sending Candace Owens things to, said that I should nip along and see them at Buckingham Palace and lift up her skirt and have a look myself. But
Zoom in.
but you know, in all seriousness, it's almost like all of these things are coming out, and you know what trauma does. You and I have spoken to so many people that have come out of cults, really looked into the psychological programming. Of course, there's masses more that we can learn. I love my discussions with Jason Christoph on this. The thing is, when you put all these things out there, people normalize it. So I'll put it in perspective. In our local community here, we've got a pond that's dried up and it looks like the ducklings have all died. And someone's response was, oh, well, loads of ponds die up at this time of year. Well, that doesn't make it any better for those ducklings. The point I'm trying to make very badly is the fact that when you put all these atrocities out there, people switch off. It becomes normalized. That's why they've had all the children playing these horrific, violent computer games. Once you normalize this violence, people's moral compass goes out the window.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've become very like, because our life is so much easier than past generations, really. I mean, past generations, the kids were up in the morning working. You had lots of kids to work the fields. Like, you know, now we have child labor laws. You can't, you know, like life is just very different. We've gauged this sense of entitlement and comfort that hasn't existed in the past. And I think that we're always waiting for somebody else to come in and do the heavy lifting, because that's just how we've watched our military go off to WAR. We've watched and we've never really had to do a whole lot, right? And I think that they do try to kind of get us desensitized, but also so that we don't react. And I think too, you know, I was, you know, not because the reason why I go back to the American Revolution, because what's happening astrologically then is also happening now.
Yeah.
And this, again, I've said this multiple times. This is not against the British people at all. Like the colonists and the British people that were cut, like people had family in England. We were each other, right? Like it was
I'm not offended. Yeah.
It was the monarchy that they were having problems with. Same with us now. We're having problem with the system, which is the monarchy, the establishment, right? And with the Declaration of Independence specifically, that was written specifically to King George. They called King George out. They listed all of what was happening, everything, and they signed it. And they knew signing it that they were probably going to get brutally executed. And 56 men signed it. Half of them were brutally executed. But we have this thing, and the reason why I bring this up, I think that, you know, for us to be free, just to be really utterly.
Hi everyone, it's Catherine here, and before I dive into today's episode, I want to really quickly share something that's so important to me. I love hosting this podcast because it allows us all to explore those big questions, challenge our programming, and uncover the natural truths that truly empower us. But did you know my real passion's working one-on-one with animals and people, helping you or your animal cut through the noise, find the root cause of imbalances, stress, illnesses, or really just create a personalized plan that actually works for you. So whether you're here for your own healing or you're a dedicated animal guardian, wanting the very best for your dog, cat, horse, any four-legged or scaled or winged companion, I'm here for you both. I work with animals and humans, but I especially love helping the animals thrive. That is my real happy place. So my recharge and reset consultations and online courses are packed with practical tools, printable resources, lifelong access. And the main thing is you'll never feel alone on this journey. And they work. Just head over to my website and check out the testimonials. So if you're really ready to take action and not just listen, head over to CatherineEdwards.life. That's Catherine with the C and .life at the end. And explore my courses and consults, or if you want to, book a free 15-minute chat to see if I can help, because it's really important we stop outsourcing our health, really look after our animal companions better than before, and start leading by example. Now back to the podcast. Thank you.
Free. We have to be willing to do things. We have to be willing to almost give our lives in a lot of sense. And I think people are willing. There's a legend, and I love this. There's a legend that the night of July 3rd, 1776 in Philadelphia, where these men were sitting there, 56 men, because at that point, us women were still not considered humans. So it was men. They were all freaking out and nervous. They had this Declaration of Independence and were nervous to sign it because they were basically signing their own death warrants.
Yeah.
There's this legend of this hooded man that showed up and gave them a rallying cry, basically. And I'm going to read it. And I think this is something for us important with this Epstein list, with everything, to realize we can't sit around and wait for somebody to come in. We have to keep talking about this. We have to keep demanding this. This guy said they may, and this is written for 1776, guys, so it's not going to sound like something we would say today. They may stretch our necks on all the giblets in the land. They may turn every rock into a scaffold, every tree into a gallows, every home into a grave, and yet the words on that parchment can never die. They may pour our blood on thousands of scaffolds, and yet from every drop that dyes the axe or drips on the sawdust of a block, a new martyr to freedom will spring into birth. The British king may blot out the stars of God from his sky, but he cannot blot out his words written on that parchment there. The works of God may perish, his words never. These words will go forth to the world when our bones are dust. To the slaves in the mines, they will speak hope. To the mechanics in the workshop, freedom. Sign that parchment. Sign. If the next moment the giblet's rope is around your neck, sign. If the next moment this hall rings with the echo of falling axe, sign. By all that is on the earth beneath and in the sky above, by all that is in you and of you, I bid you, sign. And so I think that's an important story for us to remember. I think sometimes we look back at history, like Oliver Cromwell, these people that took down establishments, and we think, oh, they were scared shitless when they did.
Oh, completely. Look at, try being one of Henry VIII's wives.
Exactly right. Like, what a time, I don't.
That's bad karma. Yeah.
Like if I was in the court of Henry VIII, I would be allowing myself to get real fat just to
exactly.
To keep my head. But I think we've gotten to this point, and it's like, how much longer? And I'm not saying that we pick up arms. I mean, that the Americans do have the right to do that, and I'm actually impressed that they haven't yet. But I think we don't let this go. We don't let this go across the world. We keep talking about it. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And with the Declaration of Independence, I think they were hoping that he would get King George. It was given directly to him, that he would be like, oh, okay, we'll pull our troops and we'll leave you alone. I think that's what they were hoping, but obviously that's not what happened. Are we willing to really go out there and stick our necks out to try to right these wrongs? I mean, so many people are too terrified, and they just sit around and they point to others. Well, why aren't you doing something? Why aren't you doing something? Why aren't you doing something? And well, why aren't we all just getting together and not being cowards? And we
absolutely,
all across the world, we are the survivors. This is survival of the fittest, the one Darwinian theory I believe in, survival of the fittest. Our ancestors collectively, we are the healthiest of our ancestors, have survived plagues, have survived massive amount of tribal warfare. And yet our ancestors are the reason why we know some plants are poison. Like they're the reason why we know, because of trial and error. So we are, like my dog's a street dog. He's pretty healthy because they have to be to survive on the streets. Only the strongest survive. And so we need to lean into that a little bit more and realize, like, we are our saviors. And that's what's driving me crazy too, Catherine, is this whole thing like, oh, the white hats are coming. The white hats are coming. What?
It's so ludicrous. It's so ludicrous. What you've just said there, I want to pick up on it. I mean, if you look, it's so ingrained in our society. I've been having, interestingly, lots of discussions recently about lack of resilience. And when you think about it, apart from domesticated animals, we are the only species on the planet that doesn't have to catch or grow our own food. Every other species. So in the old days, if you wanted to eat an animal, you had to kill it or have someone from your tribe or community kill it. Yeah. And that gives a very different energetic connection. There's a different level of effort that goes into it. But now we can walk into a supermarket and buy foie gras, which is the most disgusting, cruel thing. There's cruelty at every layer of our society. And I think all of this is to make us so weak and compliant because, one, it becomes normalized, and so long as I didn't kill it, it's not a problem. Well, we're all participating in it every day. You know, every time the world has got so awful that you can't even buy a shampoo that probably hasn't been tested on animals.
Exactly.
This is how screwed up as humanity we've got. And I think, you know, there'll be loads of people screaming from the rooftops, sort of saying all these atrocities have been going on, so many more. Look at the whole wars that we've gone into that have on complete lies, complete lies. And yet, the reason I think this is a tipping point is we've gone for celebrity culture. We've been coerced into celebrity culture, and this involves a lot of celebrities, and therefore you've got a lot of mass interest in it. So my only hope is, out of this absolute mess, that this backfires on them. That, you know, a little bit like during lockdowns where so many people were like, hang on a minute, this is ridiculous. They overplayed their card, you know, like in a really bad play, and you've got someone really overacting. That's what woke a lot of people up. And I'm not saying that as a destination, as a journey, got people asking questions that they hadn't asked before, because they've deliberately made everyone so busy, so stressed, working so hard just to make ends meet, that unfortunately a lot of people just haven't got the mental capacity or the physical time to look in and start questioning what really is going on.
And it's about freedom. Freedom, you know, if you allow somebody to take care of you, if you allow somebody to do the hard work for you, you're not free. And I don't know, can I share screen, Catherine? I have found, you know, they talk about the caged lion, right? And I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this meme? Is that big? I don't know. Can make it. Of these lions, one of these lions has security, free food, free shelter, free medical care. The other has no guarantees, but is truly free. Which one would you rather be?
And for those listening on the podcast, there's a picture of a lion in a zoo cage, which is really horrific. I mean, you've only got to see the look on its face, and a lion out in the wild. And this, that's such a good analogy, because we've had so many conversations, Brice, about comfort kills.
Yeah.
And comfort really does kill. You know, it's ridiculous. We're in a heat wave in the UK. It's in the 30s. Everyone's, you know, like, we've got all our news is trying to pretend that it's a danger to life and everything. Well, yes, if you're old and frail and you've got certain breathing conditions, but it's so resilient that every animal, and humans are no different, we're designed to be in the cold, we're designed to be in the hot. We're not designed to stay in consistent temperature. It's so ridiculous now that people need a monitor on there to track their sleep, to track this, to track that. It's ridiculous. All of this is disconnecting us from common sense, disconnecting us from ourselves, and making us so weak that when things happen, we're completely incapable of rising up and standing up for ourselves. And in the old days, you know, when our village was invaded, you just had to get on with it. And nowadays, people are like, lock me up in the 15-minute city so long as I've got my food delivery and I've got a computer in front of me, and even better if I've got a virtual reality headset that's now a chip in my brain.
It's so funny because, you know, we're called the sun, but we're known for our heat and our humidity down here. That's why we talk a little slow, because it's so damn hot. But when I was a kid, when we would have our summers would be boiling hot, our parents still kicked us outside and said, if you're hot, turn the hose on and drink the water from the hose. You know, like, that's just, we weren't. And my sister, I'm really proud of my sister. She does that with her kids. She makes her kids go outside for at least an hour. We were out for longer, but for at least an hour every day with no sunscreen, just to go out and play. And she makes their own bread. She really, talk about waking up in 2020. She really woke up, and most of her food now is totally homemade. And she took that initiative because that was, you know, and it's we become such babies with everything. Babies. And that is what drives me, and it drives me crazy, because we didn't get to this point in our timeline with our ancestors would be ashamed of us right now if they saw what we've turned into.
And,
you know?
and we always think we've got to be taught something. But so my grandparents, they were just amazing. And, they knew how to cook a meal from scratch and make use of every ingredient with no way. They knew how to mend everything. They knew
Yeah.
how to make their own clothes. They knew how to mend a roof. They knew how to grow their own food and bake their own bread. And it's this namby-pamby society where, everyone I knew in my grandparents' generation, they'd go out to work. Admittedly, it was mainly the men that were at work, and the women, it was a full-time job because a lot of them didn't have washing machines. I mean, my mum grew up and they didn't have electricity for ages, and they certainly didn't
Wow.
have heating.
Yeah.
Oh, I think they had electricity. Sorry, mum, you're not that old. They didn't have heating. It was a long while before they had heating and an inside toilet. And I think we are so weak now. This is why people like Wim Hof get in the cold plunge,
Yeah.
challenge yourself with exercise that you're always talking about. Make your food, use a common sense. I'm sorry, if you're an adult and you can't work out how to cook a basic meal, then you need a serious good look at yourself. And I think it's going back to what we started about with the Trump and Epstein. Like, yes, everyone does know. The question is now is what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Because this is just an example of what is going on in all of our societies. Everyone that's watching this, we know there's corruption. Everyone says it's against the law. Well, try telling Hillary Clinton that.
Right. What
They're
law?
not bothered, are they?
What law? That we're the
Don't
ones
get a
that
job with Hillary.
No, I want to share a screen. I love what you just said there before. I wanted to show you guys something. We talked about not having air. So this is my mother is from Charleston, South Carolina, which is one of our, according to mainstream history, one of our original cities. So it is extremely hot there, extremely hot. So the way the houses are built, the pre-antebellum houses, so the houses from when they were settling, the front door, so this is the street, is on the side.
Yeah.
And they built it this way because of the breeze, to be able to catch the breeze for the heat. And so our ancestors were clever enough to learn how to work with nature
Yeah.
in order to accept that it was going to get hot and how to set up their houses in order to catch as much breeze as possible. And Catherine, I don't think that we've done so much since the 1700s, but I don't think we're clever enough to know how to do stuff like this because we've been so spoiled at this point
Completely.
that we
They're beautiful. I love those houses.
Oh, they are beautiful. They're haunted AF. But
Yeah.
when Catherine comes to America, because that's where it's Charleston's a beautiful city. They've done a really good job upkeeping the history. But when you come, Catherine, we'll go and do a ghost tour.
I can't wait to do that. I
Yeah.
can't wait to do that. But I really
Yeah.
want to know, look, so many different scenarios what this can happen. It's obviously well planned because at the moment you've got all the big players in his team, in the Make America Great Again team. They're all playing ball.
Yeah.
None of them are being mavericks and coming out and blowing the whistle at the moment. So this either tells me that either they're all being threatened, blackmailed, threatened, or that it's part of something bigger that we don't know about. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's part of something bigger on a good front. I will take it back. We did a show a few weeks ago, and the absolute lunacy of Trump saying that I'm bombing another country to keep peace is such an oxymoron. And it's this big boy bullying tactics all over again, that it's exactly what happened with the independents. You unfortunately, there seems to be something really weird about humanity, of this need to dominate.
Yeah.
And perhaps that's not sustainable for any species to live like that, because I can't think of another species that's like that. I can't think of another species that outlives nature, because if your food source is gone, if you eat all your food, then you'll all die out the next winter.
Exactly. Well, I want to hear from the Americans too. What are we going to do about this, Americans? This falls on our responsibility. It's not the English people's responsibility. It's not the French people's, not the European, not Africa, not Asia. This is our court systems. Just by luck of the draw, Epstein was an American. So what are we the people going to do about this? Because this is unacceptable. This is unacceptable.
And be careful in the comments what words you use, because
Absolutely.
the comments will get a channel taken down as well. And we are talking from experience on that. But let us know in a coded form, what are you going to do? You know, what has it got to the stage now? It's a bit like most people, to me, Brice, it's a bit like, unfortunately, there's something about human nature where most people will not change their diet, their lifestyle, their stress levels until they get some serious disease. To me, we've reached that point. We've got the big C, disease, and it's had to get that thing because the symptoms, we've been knocking on the warning, look at this, and what most people have ignored it, or if they haven't ignored it, they've expected someone else to do something about it, and therefore the universe is going, now sort this out.
Yeah, I think number 2 is the biggest fear I have, is that people are just waiting because they've been programmed to do that. The truthers have been programmed to wait for somebody to do it for them. And that's not us being free. That's not freedom. And so shit, if I lived in DC, I would probably have printed off thousands of copies of the Declaration of it, just put them everywhere and just, do we sign a second declaration from the world demanding these atrocities have happened? Ghislaine is in prison. We know this is going on. We have so much proof. We're not crazy. We demand that justice be served. I mean, what?
We can't mention again the absolute lunacy. So when he supposedly took his own life, we were told there were no camera footages because the cameras were all down there. And now we get other camera footages with a minute missing where the door's different and anything couldn't happen. And I have to make light of this, and it's not like there'll be lots of people watching this that are either no victims or have had victims, even if it's not of Jeffrey Epstein's ring, of other atrocious situations. We've got our own problems in the UK with the horrendous grooming gangs. It's just horrendous situation. So I'm not making light of that situation. I'm making light of the fact, to me, something's up, because either they're laughing at us to say, look, it's all in plain sight now and there's nothing any of you can do about it, or they're just like, my God, what else have I got to do to get people to get off their backsides and do something?
And do something. It's, you know what it's like, Catherine, you know, when a little kid gets into the chocolate and they get chocolate all over them, and then the parents like,
what do you mean, little child?
With chocolate, they're like, I didn't eat the chocolate. It's like all over them.
That's me.
My favorite is when they get into their mom's makeup and they got like lipstick. Did you play a mom's makeup? No. That's what I feel like we're seeing. Like it's like a 4-year-old. Like you didn't even try to. That video. I'm glad you bought. Like you guys didn't even try. You didn't even try to sell it as if it's like we have eyes we can see. Like that's not the same.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and my heart goes out for any of the victims. I can't imagine what you're going through right now, and I hope to God that there's justice is swift and that you get to see it at some point.
Brilliant. Let us know in the comments. Now, for anyone watching this, I'm moving around because the sun's just streaming in through my window, thank goodness. Next week we will be on Esoteric Atlanta, so if you haven't checked out Brice's channels, Esoteric Atlanta on YouTube, Esoteric Atlanta on Rumble, and she has a link to her amazing Esoteric Academy. Please do check that out. All the links will be below, plus the links to the videos that we took clips from today. And please let us know in your comments. You know, for me, now's the time of action. I'm in baking my bread. I'm liaising with local farmers, looking at water boreholes, you know, getting back to the practicalities and the key sort of hierarchy of needs, because the control is getting ridiculous and we ignore it at our peril. Any final words from you, Brice?
Just remember that some things are worth putting your neck out for, and our freedom is one of them. And to me, this whole gaslighting is a slap across our faces as free people. And we deserve freedom. So yes, and use Catherine's discount code, Catherine20, if you want to join. You get 20% off your first 6 months at the Academy. So make sure you guys use her code down below. Brilliant. So yeah.
Thank you so much. We'll be back, not next week, but the following week on Esoteric Atlanta. See you all soon. Bye.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And if you feel inspired, please do share with your friends and family. This helps us spread the word and also helps me encourage some exciting new guests to take part in this podcast. And above all, stay curious and stay free.